welcome to Viewpoints. My name is Rick Harlow. I'm here with John Lenkart. We're going to discuss his thesis concerning the vulnerabilities of social media and the insider threat. Welcome, John.
Hi, Rick.
This is certainly a very pertinent topic, what's going on right now in our world. Tell me about how you started this process.
Well, looking at working in the FBI, the Counterintelligence Division, we look at a lot of different sources of information, to including open source information. And one of those, it's been a recent explosion of the use of social networking media, to the point where, according to some sources, Facebook had an astounding 15% approximately of total internet time in the US last year was spent on Facebook. So there is just a wealth of information that is put out there voluntarily by, I think Facebook users are up to 500 million people. So looking at that it's a great tool and everyone uses it to get together and communicate. But what are the interesting vulnerabilities, or how would a threat, a hostile actor use that and manipulate some of the, or at least obtain some of that information off Facebook to go ahead and better target in an organization? So finding persons that would have access to information and then being able to use that Facebook information or LinkedIn or a variety of other social networking media, and then take that in and manipulate that person into providing sensitive information. And it doesn't have to be classified in the government or a DHS setting, but it could be proprietary information that a company doesn't want to use, that doesn't want to get out there. So we looked at it, or I looked at it from what are the ways that social networking media can be exploited in a negative sense for both government and private industry as well.
So what do you mean by insider threat? What does that mean?
The insider threat is an employee or contractor or someone, but it's someone that has access through their job within an organization that has access to information that the organization does not wish to put out in the public. And that could be classified information, obviously, if you're a government entity, or it is proprietary information within a private company. And say an overseas competitor wants to target that information, and they'll find someone who's on a lead designer on their team and try to pull that information out of them via another job or just bribing them or what have you. Download 20 gigs and get on a plane and go to China, that type of thing. And you see that pattern on if you look at what's happened as far as economic espionage, theft of trade secret, it's out there. So taking it from the more crass, just finding someone to do it, and then literally having a more targeted approach to find someone that would allow you to have access to more sensitive information, more valuable information, and then leveraging social media to get there. So outside of Facebook, LinkedIn is interesting because you generally put everything you have professionally on there, because the whole point of it is have a professional network, trying to find people that have similar views in your industry or what have you, or if you're trying to get another job. So using that and then using Facebook, so I understand your circle of friends, your personal network, and then I would try to get at you. Let's say Rick, and suddenly I have a lot of similar tastes and hobbies that you have, and we become good friends, and then over time I bring you on board. So that was how we saw social networking media and the insider threat potentially marrying up to have a more exponentially larger threat to an organization.
Your methodology, very great topic. But how did you find your information? What data did you use?
I used a mix. I interviewed a series of folks that had backgrounds. They were retired either from the intelligence community and law enforcement and had moved into the world of corporate security. So I looked at it from, hey, what does your organization do? Do you even address the use of social networking media by your employees? And are there any active programs that you use to try to mitigate that threat? In addition, I interviewed intelligence analysts and competitive business analysts that use social networking media as one of their sources of information on when they're trying to put deals together or understand the adversary or what have you, specific individuals. So what I found was that all had intuitively viewed it as a threat, that this is definitely something that we need to look at, but there are not very mature policies or technologies that look at social networking media as an entity unto itself. It's on kind of a larger, it's under employee security practices in general. And then on the analytical side, the people that go out and get this intelligence, they're already exploiting it. So there's a disconnect there. So the security policies and practices have not yet caught up to this relatively new phenomenon, completely different way of communicating that is, Facebooks and LinkedIn and the such.
So then recommendations, did you have any?
It's awareness, education, and training for the workforce. The recommendations were couched under the auspices of a realistic, from a financial and also behavior standpoint. You cannot ban the use of Facebook or social networking media in workforce. It's too pervasive. It is out there, and to say you can't use Facebook, it's an unrealistic, although that would be an effective mitigation strategy, it's an unrealistic one. So the recommendations is the employees have to be more aware of what they put out there, how it could be manipulated or exploited by a hostile actor. And through demonstrating to them, hey, when you say something, I went, vacation, here are my kids, here's some things I like and dislike, how that can come back to you, and then this to be more aware, should someone come back to you with these similar traits, what they're driving at. If they start tying it into business, into what you're working on, or proprietary information, or classified in the government's case, that should be an alarm.
So expanding people's knowledge and understanding of operational security.
Correct, because it's a technology or a communications method that is still relatively new, and of course everyone's out there and using it, and we haven't quite matured to the point where we're understanding how the threat's using it, because they definitely are. And the second part is trying to identify some persons in your company, in your organization, that are considered, have access and placement a little to more critical information. And then have an active monitoring. So you would, in essence, go out and look, Rick, what your footprint is. Here are your vulnerabilities that you put out there on the internet in general, social networking media in particular, and here's how a hostile actor can use that against you. And here are some recommended mitigation steps. Now, you couldn't do that with everyone, but you could do that with persons that are considered in more sensitive positions in an organization.
So some red teaming from that aspect.
It would be red teaming, and there are companies that are out there that are doing that from a marketing aspect. So say Taco Bell, for instance, wants to understand what consumers think of a new product. There are companies out there that monitor that space out there to say, hey, listen, this product's terrible, it's great, or whatever. You would sort of tailor that already existing process to make it a red team on specific individuals. So what would we know about these people on this design team, the CFO in case of a merger and acquisition on this, that, and the other, and saying, hey, listen, these are the vulnerabilities that are out there, so potentially you could be exploited in this way. And then that person would be dialed into knowing, whoa, that's weird that this person showed up in my life with these similarities and is asking me about this thing. Mm-hmm. So it's to get out ahead of the threat, because they're going to use whatever's out there.
That's very interesting. Thank you, John, for sharing this thesis with us.
Thanks, Rick. Appreciate the time.